What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of Vend Talk with Zig, Kashief, and Donald, produced by Vend Guys. This is going to be a community that we are building around beginners and mid-level operators in the vending machine business. We want to grow a community. We want to help other people grow as we grow as well. And today, the topic is pretty much going to be about finding locations, because that's really the first big obstacle that you're going to run into if you are starting a vending machine or you're at that mid-level and you're trying to grow, is the location obstacle. So we're going to jump into that. First, I want to introduce all of us. We'll start with Donald. Donald, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
So for those that don't know, my name is Luxama. I'm a vending machine business owner. I started my vending machine business back in college. And in college I just started making content, documenting my journey. And now I have like a large following base in terms of different stuff I do in terms of like my vending machine business. I was so successful in the vending machine world, I started doing this thing called the World Tour, where I travel almost like every single week or twice a week to go meet different vending machine business owners around the world. So that's me.
Awesome. Kashief?
All right, my name is Kashief Edwards. I have been in the vending machine business for around 10 years now. I started out with gumball machines, and built my way up to traditional vending machines and now the smart coolers. That's pretty much what I do. And I also have built a community similar to Donald's where I help people get started in the vending machine industry. And that's what we're doing now. So let's get it going.
Awesome. All right, so I'm Zig. My name is actually Scott. Everybody calls me Zig. I have been in the vending machine business for 4 months now. I started in August, so I'm brand new. I'm a full-time career firefighter in the city of Detroit, and I own another business, power washing houses, that I started 5 years ago. And over the summer, I started seeing some videos about vending machine business, probably some of your guys' videos, and I thought, let's try it. So we got one vending machine from Charlie, and now we have 4 snack and drink machines, and then we have one vape and Zyn machine. And so I'm pretty new. I'm learning.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I like those. I like the idea of the vape machines. That's something I was looking into as well. That's decent. I had to type.
Yeah, that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
I met a vape when I went to Ohio. I met a vape vending machine company. What are they called? In Ohio, they were making like $1 million a year. It was cool to see. Even though I'm
Yeah,
not like a big supporter of like the vape machines. I
yeah.
like still went out to go see them and stuff.
You're probably talking about that Mike.
His name is
I
Mike.
don't
Yeah,
remember
Micah
his
Stanley. Micah and
very
Vend.
big. I've had several conversations with him. That's who I got my machine from before I met Charlie. Um, and like that's a whole nother rabbit hole. We can talk about that in another episode. But because the locations are completely different. You're dealing with bars. But yeah, I mean, let's get into the topic. The first topic we're going to talk about is locations. Locations is, if you don't have locations, you got nothing. You can buy the machines, just in your garage or your warehouse or wherever you have them, and if they're not in a location, they're not making you any money. So that's your first hurdle, is finding that location. And I have been taught by people like Charlie, people like videos that you guys produce, other people on YouTube, that the location, you need to find a location before you even buy a machine, because the location is going to determine what type of machine you buy. So let's get into that. Like you guys have been in it for a lot longer. So why don't you guys take it away with how you started, out? What was your first location? How'd you get it?
So my first location, I bought in college. Like I bought the vending machine on location. When I was starting out my vending machine business, it was during like COVID. So COVID was like a whole different time from where it is now. Like everyone was selling. No one knew like the state of the world. No one knew like what was gonna happen. So everyone was kind of like selling their vending machine locations. I bought a 2 combo vending machines. It was like in a school, like a barber college that had like offices on top. That also was a makeup studio. So it was like a bunch of businesses inside of one. So I bought that location for like $3,000 with those 2 combo vending machines. That's how I got my first location
So you bought the location and the vending machine for three grand?
for 3 grand. Yeah.
That seems like a pretty good deal.
No, yeah. At the time, it felt like the thing was in college too. It felt like it was a good deal. Mind you, I was young. The guy told me like I learned this like later on. The guy was like, "Yo, this location makes $200 a week." I was excited. I'm like $200 a week. That means it makes $800 a month. By like 7, 8 months, I'm gonna have all my money back. And then 2 weeks later, we came and it only made like $14. So
Oh,
like that was
wow.
like yeah. So that was like a little learning curve, and we were getting
Was
all the
that
snacks for free. Say that again.
was it consistently making that little amount of money, or did it ever come
No,
up?
over time, we started to like over time because mind you, it was mismanagement of like the previous vending machine owners. So like the snacks, we started putting better snacks because we got all the snacks for free at my college. So we were just putting like all the free snacks inside that vending machine. So that's why it was a good location over time.
Man, $14, that must have been kinda scary
Not yeah,
to
that was
spend
kind of
that kind
scary.
of money on something like that, and then it's only
Mhm.
making it must have made him $200 one week.
Not
What
facts.
about you? What about you, Kashief?
I got two parts to this. So one, the very first location that I got, and this is where I learned the lesson from of don't buy the vending machine before you have the location. The very first machine that I got was for a hotel downtown in Philadelphia. All right, I got this hotel to say yes to this vending machine and purchase the machine without really taking measurements of the hotel. Now, me looking at the hotel physically, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't think a vending machine is going to fit in this spot, where these guys want this machine. But I'm talking to the distributor and they're like, oh, yes, it could fit everywhere. Don't worry about it, so on and so forth. And long story short, I brought the machine, I brought the inventory, I brought everything, and that machine did not fit. It didn't fit. So I was lucky enough to be able to get my money back, at least for the machine. And I just gave the inventory to my kids, man. So that was just a waste. But so that taught me a big lesson right there because I put a lot of time and effort into getting that whole thing and money, getting that whole thing set up, getting it delivered, and it didn't even fit into the space. And then I ended up getting another hotel after that, but this time, I actually took the measurements and everything myself. But what I didn't do, this time I didn't have the right delivery team, and we physically carried the vending machines into the location, which was crazy. I would never do that now. Like, we picked the machine up and carried it into the hotel where it was going. So that was my first location was a hotel, and it was a very good location at a very bad spot. The hotel was crazy. It was always on the news. Things were always happening at that particular spot. But in terms of it just being a location, it was the same things that made it bad made it good. Like it was busy, right? It wasn't no stores around. It had long hours. It was a few, factors there that made that a good spot in terms of just for that machine. But other than that, it was a crazy spot. Like I had to watch what times I would go there to go service it, because there was a lot going on.
Yeah. So, how did you guys go about finding those locations?
For me, what I did, like, usually I use Facebook Marketplace. Facebook Marketplace has been good when it comes to finding locations. For me, I like looking for like those big companies that are selling. I like looking for like massive companies, for example, like let's say companies that are selling 50, 60, 70, 150,000, no matter what it is. So I will go to those owners and I'll say, hey, can I buy a piece of that route? That's been like my best way of like finding like different locations. Like, can I buy a piece of the route? And then they're not going to sell you a location vending machine for the same price that somebody's selling like a singular vending machine for. So I was able to get like this was like back like probably like 2021. I was able to get like 8 vending machines in 3 locations because like I did that like strategy. I found a guy selling like a massive route, bought like a piece of it, sold off the bad locations, kept the good ones, sold off like, and that's been my best way.
Yeah, so I would imagine that today that's a little bit different now today because like you said, that was back 2021. Things are different now with all the TikTokers and YouTubers, people out there pushing that side hustle game. So, do you think that that would be a way that you're still getting those locations, or you think that's changed?
It depends, right? For example, like now, I tell people like now, make your family and friends eyes and ears. So like make like the normal average like your family and friends like make them eyes and ears for you because they're gonna go to their work, they're gonna go to their workplaces, they're gonna see vending machines, they're gonna see if their place has a vending machine, they're gonna be able to hear all these things, right? So mind you, imagine you do that now. You incentivize your family and friends to go find you locations. Hey, if you find this location, I'll give you a referral fee, I'll give you a finder's fee, something in the lines of that, right? And now you could end up finding like locations. I end up finding placing vending machines at my church because I go to the church, I talk to the people, I realized that they had a problem. The kids kept leaving the church to go to go walk all the way down Main Street to go buy some food. Now I just came in, I solved the problem. and then that's how I was able to place that vending machine there.
You know what? Every Sunday I think about putting one in my church, and I was kind of always wondered if they do well in churches.
Yeah, my church doesn't open just on Sundays. It opens like kind of like throughout the week. They have like different services.
Yeah,
You have your
same with mine.
funerals, you have your weddings, you have your different services. Also, there's like daycares. There's also it's like I forgot, I don't know what the word is, like multi event church, something like that. I forgot the word, but something like that where it's like
Lots of
not just
people
open
all the
Sunday.
time. Lots of people all the time, which that's a good, tip for people that are looking at locations. That's what you want. You want high foot traffic, you know, as many days of the week as you can. That's something that I kind of overlooked when I was looking at locations. The hours of operation of these places and how many people are going to be there throughout the week. Kashief, do you got anything to add to that on finding those locations and
If you're just starting out, I think the very best thing you can do is get active. And when I say that, like call places, get your boots on the ground, go door to door. You got to you have to get as active as possible in terms of just pursuing the locations. I think as you grow, I love what Donald said with the buying of the routes. That's what I did personally. I brought a few and I did the exact same thing. I kept the good ones and I sold off the ones that I felt like were a little slower, and I did that maybe 2 or 3 times. So, but I wouldn't say do that from the beginning because if you don't know what's going on and you buy a route and now all of a sudden you go from 0 machines to like 8, and you have to figure out programming for 8 machines, figure out, how to put the right products in 8 machines and how to deal with 8 different, sets of customers it can be overwhelming. I'm saying so I would recommend just starting off with 1 or 2 locations if you can, and then I will go with the route thing. Other than that, I love building out a space online, like locations from right now. I get majority of my locations from my website. So I have a website, for my business. I get a lot of locations from my website. That's the main thing I lean on.
do you pay somebody to run that website or is that something you do on your own?
The website runs itself.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, I have a website, but I threw it together as much as I could just to get myself on like Google business profile.
Right. I mean, because if we look at it, right, if anybody's looking for a service, any person, any establishment, the first thing that they do is they go online and they search. Like, so if you're searching for a roofer, if you're searching for somebody to do any type of, job, you go online and then you're going to see who comes up on Google. And nine
I've
times out
helped
of 10, you're going to call whoever one of the top 5 people the first 5 people that pop up, you're going to hit select on one of those and start calling those people and to see if they could provide the service that you're looking for. So I think it's the same thing with the vending machines. If you have a strong presence on Google, when you go on there and you get yourself to rank high, you get the website to rank high, people will contact you just because you're ranked high on the list, and then they're just calling the first people that pop up when they're looking for the vending machine service.
when I've helped a handful of people start their power washing businesses over the last 5 years, and that's the first thing I tell them to do is get a website made and get a Google business profile because I mean we do over 200,000 in revenue a year, and I would say 160 of that comes from Google. Like you
Yeah.
said, whatever service people are looking at, and I know like my first location I got off of vending exchange, which I understand how it works. Somebody went on Google looking for a new vending machine for their factory, and vending exchange probably spends the most money on that SEO so that they came up in the top. They get that lead and then they sell it to somebody else. I bought it. It ended up being a great location. So, I mean, that kind of circles back on ways of getting locations is using websites like Vending Village. I used Vending Exchange, where they give you a lead with vague details on that lead, but enough to make you think it's good or bad, and then you pay for it, and then you get all of the information of like the phone number, the email, the point of contact for that location. Vending Village is another one that we work with here. And it's the same concept. You can go on Vending Village and there's like a map and it'll show you locations that are for sale all over the country. You can zoom in on your area and see if there's any areas or any locations that are available for you. You also had something to add to that too, right? 'Cause
Right, because we offer a similar service under Vendlist. So the Vendlist also provides a similar service to Vending Exchange. I haven't heard of Vending Village before, but I've definitely heard of Vending Exchange, and they have been around for quite a while. I actually got my first location with the gumball machines when I started with my gumball machines. They were under a different company name, and that's where I got my first gumball location from. So good guy, cool guy.
What's the website for that to get to utilize what you were just talking about?
The gumball machines?
No, your the location.
Oh, it's the Vendless.com. It's the
Okay, vendlessapp.com. That's cool. Just circling back on ways of getting things. Like I think Donald was the one that said it. Kind of having your friends and family, might have been you, Kashief. Having your friends and family be your eyes and ears. I put out a Facebook post a couple of times when I first started and just said like, "Hey, I'm starting a vending machine business. If you know anybody, or you work somewhere, or you manage a place, or whatever that needs or has vending machines that you're not happy with, or needs vending machines, let me know." And I even offered a finder's fee. I got one location from that. That's where my vape vending machine is at. That location came off that Facebook page or post. And then I mean TikTok, utilizing social media, and like you said, Google. Having a strong presence on Google is really, really important, but having a strong presence across the internet in as many places as you can be that you feel comfortable with. I mean, not everybody's comfortable making a TikTok video, but if you are, my best location came from a TikTok video of me literally just talking about how I'm starting a vending machine business. And someone who worked at this location saw my video and reached out and said, we need vending machines at our spot. The ones we have suck. And so I went in there that day and I talked to the receptionist, the gatekeeper, and then I emailed every email I could possibly find for anybody in that business. And I ended up getting a response from the CEO that came straight from a TikTok video.
And Zig, I wanna piggyback off of that because I've had that conversation with quite a few people, right? And even in terms of like family and friends who were trying to get involved with the business, and I will always say like just start with networking with the people that you already know, like just exactly what you just said. The only thing I would say though is make sure you have your brand together, like your logo, your website, all that stuff before you start reaching out to these people. Because I feel like what can happen is it's two things. One thing that can happen is when people who have known you for a long time, they can kind of categorize you and put you in a box. Like, so it's like, okay, you're talking about this vending machine stuff, but I don't know, you fix cars. Like, you don't do vending machines. You're a mechanic. Like, so they're not really taking it serious. So whereas though, is this like they're not really going to think about what you're saying. Like, versus I feel like, but if you have everything kind of together, then people might actually take time out to really kind of think a little harder because they see that you're putting a little more effort into it. So they might put a little more effort into actually thinking about it. And then the
100%.
other thing is conflict of interest, right? Because sometimes it's like, okay, my church needs a machine. That's an easy one, but my job needs a machine, right? Like, so that's somebody I know and people that I know, but how do I navigate around, you know, not being a conflict of interest? Is that something that you guys seen before? I know I've seen it maybe once or twice. I haven't dealt with it personally, but I had one person, who has, and I kind of talked to the job for him, and then, he just took it over once we got in there.
I haven't dealt with that with vending yet. People tell me all the time I should put machines in the firehouses in Detroit, but I don't even want to try to go there. But
Why
with my
not
car
though? Like,
washing business, what's
why
that?
wouldn't why
There's only 8 people at the most in a firehouse through a 24-hour period. So there's really not that much. Yeah, so like there's only 8 people in a firehouse, and I think it's important to shoot for the moon. Is something Charlie always told me is shoot for the moon. Don't go for those small locations. Yeah, sure, it would probably make some money because firemen are going to spend money on that stuff. We have pop machines in the firehouses. They sell a couple pops a day, but shooting for the moon, going for those locations with lots of people, long hours.
So what do you feel like is a good mark for trying to get a good location? I have a set number that I usually go with. What do you feel like is
So
like your bottom line for a good location? Like they have to have at least this many people there per day.
yeah, and keep in mind now I'm new, so like my numbers might be off, but in my head, like 75 is. I feel like they need to have 75 people there throughout the week, Monday through Friday at least, preferably all week long, or at least a Saturday. And I wouldn't want to go lower than that. 2 of my locations have around that. Both of them do completely different numbers. So like I think it also depends on like what type of customer they are. For example, I have a factory that has 75 employees there Monday through Friday during the week, first shift, and then they have a second shift later on, and I think they have like 30 employees at night. Saturdays, skeleton crew. I do about $1,400 to $1,500 a week there. I have another location that has 30 people captive Monday through Friday in the office, and then 50 drivers 24/7. We only do $450 to $500 a month in that location. So those numbers are similar, but they're different types of, you know what I mean? Like, so you got to kind of also play. It can't just be that number, in my opinion. But I would
Yeah.
say that starting point would be around like 75. I would say.
Okay.
What's your number?
I agree with you. So I would say, and this gets real tricky. And I honestly, I've been doing this for a long time, and I still haven't completely figured it out yet because my number is 100. I like to see at least 100 people there per day, but it depends on the type of people that we're dealing with. Like, because you could have 30 people there per day, and if these people are working hard and there's nothing else around and they have long hours, they'll use the equipment. For example, I just got a location a few months ago that have 120 people there per day, right? And this is the first time that I've had that many people at a location, and I've had terrible sales. Like, I'm about to pull this equipment out. Like, so I'm just so surprised. I'm like, man, like, they have a lot of people, but they don't buy anything. Like, I've
Okay.
switched the products. I gave them suggestion sheets. I also send out surveys. Like, I send electronic surveys that staff got. They replied and said the stuff that they wanted. Still bad. Like, still bad. Outside of just the actual number of people, it depends on the type of location that we're looking at too. But
I
yeah,
chime in.
I aim for 100. Donna, what about you? What you aim for?
I think like to me, I like rehabilitation centers. I don't know if you guys had a chance to get any like type of rehabilitation centers. I like those places that people like they have to be there. Those are the type of locations I like because like you have a place like 100. I know people that have places with like 100 people and they have barely any sales. Like
Donald Sound just went out, so we'll wait for him to come back. Yeah, I think that, like you said, that you have to have that number in mind, but then you also have to like dive deeper into that number and look at what it all means. Because like one of my spots is an ambulance station, and it has 300 employees, but those employees they come and go all day long, and I was worried about that place. I didn't think they would do very well because those guys can just get in their ambulance and go to the party store and buy whatever they want. So on the same topic of that number that you're shooting for the moon, I think that there's also something that people overlook when they're presented with a location that doesn't look like something they really want. I read a book called Go for No, and it's basically like it's a sales book, and you want to go for as many no's as you can. So just ask the questions. If they tell you no, good. You got more no's. You want as many no's as you can because if you get 100 no's, you're going to get 5 yeses. But if you only got 50 no's, it's because you didn't ask enough. And one of the things that I did recently with one of my locations is I was presented with a location that I did not think was going to do well based on what I had learned and what our producer Charlie had talked to me about. It was the logistics location with all the drivers. And this guy really wanted one of our machines in there. So I just said, hey, look, I don't know that this is going to be a very profitable location for us. I'm willing to make a deal with you. I'm going to send you a quick contract, look it over, tell me what you think. If you want, tell me to kick rocks. I'll understand. And in that contract, I just placed an agreement that he would pay me $200 a month for 18 months. If sales do not hit, I don't remember what in my contract it says, but it's a number. There's a number for sales.
Hmm.
And if they don't hit that number, you pay me $200 a month for the first 18 months, and then after that, we'll reevaluate. He agreed to it, and I was actually surprised that he agreed to it. But I think a lot of people would be because most people would have just said no, and I was going to just say no. And I read a comment on Facebook in one of the forums where somebody else did that. I didn't come up with that on my own. I got it from somebody else. I don't even remember who the person was, but it worked. And we make 450 to 500 bucks a month there plus his $200, which is, we get that money for doing nothing other than providing the machine, and it's going to pay off our machine in 18 months. So it's one thing that people got to keep in mind. Don't say no to a location right off the bat. It doesn't hurt to throw that kind of thing out there because what's the word? I mean, if they say no, oh well. Even if they get mad, like if they feel insulted by you, it's your business at the end of the day. You don't want to spend 4 or 5 grand on a machine that's going to sit there and not make you any money.
And I think what you just said is super important because a lot of people feel like you have to pay these places to be in these establishments. This is a very fair exchange. These people need you in these buildings to keep their staff happy or to keep their residents happy or whatever it may be. Like, so it's not like, oh, we're begging to be here. Yes, we want to be in the establishment, but they also want us there. So a lot of people don't realize how these companies will pay you to be there. Like, I have multiple locations where the equipment, the products are subsidized, meaning like they pay for part of the cost of the product. So there's one location we sell, like, it's a Gatorade machine. The Gatorades only cost $1 for the staff, right? But
Wow.
well, we sell the Gatorades for 250. So the staff buy all the Gatorades up, and then at the end of the month, we just invoice the remaining balance to the company, and then the company pays the difference,
That's a
right?
really
And
good
then you
idea.
also have similar situations like yours where the company would just pay to have us in there, which I'm about to shoot that same thing that you just said. That's my last resort with the last location I just was talking about, because if those sales don't pick up, I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to pull this equipment out, and unless you guys want to pay us to keep it in here, because
Yeah, yeah,
it's not
because
making money.
if you don't ask that, you never know. They might have been completely willing to do it, and then you kind of you're losing. It kind of ties us into that commission. Tying back into the commission thing, we can talk about that. In my personal experience, I don't really want to pay anybody. With my power washing business, I learned the first year in business to keep my prices pretty high so that I can make more money. We do less jobs, we make more money because our prices are high. I kind of have that mindset with the vending business. I don't want to pay people when I'm doing the work. It doesn't make sense to me unless it's like a it's the moon. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
something that I've done with the commissions I've been asked to provide commission, I've agreed to it on a sliding scale. So I don't think I'll ever just say like, yeah, I'll give you whatever percentage of all my commissions no matter what. I need to know that I'm going to make a certain amount of money before I give you anything. So it's a sliding scale. If this location performs to this level, then it'll unlock this commission. If it performs at this level, it'll unlock this commission. That's how I've been doing it and it's worked, but I only have one spot that I'm giving commission to. And then my ambulance, we're giving a very small percentage to a charity instead of giving it to them.
When it comes to commission, I think you're absolutely right. Like, for a lot of people, since we're focusing on people that like just getting started, I think too many people actually go into these meetings with these locations and lead with commission as a way to get their equipment in there, right? I would tell anybody who's just getting started, don't even mention commit. I don't even mention it because a lot of times they don't bring it up. I don't bring it up. It's not even a thing, right? Because with the companies that I've dealt with, I can only speak on my own experience. With the companies that I've dealt with, the thing they care about most is the quality of the service. They want to make sure that you're going to respond, whenever there's an issue. They want to make sure the stuff in there that they like. They want to make sure that the equipment is working properly. That's what they care about. A lot of them don't really care about the commission thing. When it does come up, right? I like what you said. I like to put a trigger on us actually paying the commission. Like, if it doesn't make at least this amount, then we can't pay a commission because, like you said, it wouldn't make sense. But in terms of how much commission that we pay, I think the industry standard is about 10%. So that's usually what we're going with. We're usually going with 10% commission when we are actually paying a commission. I think the highest commission that I've paid is 25%. But for those cases when I'm paying a higher commission, I'm adding on to my price. Like, so if my price is, I'll increase my prices by 25%. Like, versus so I have the same profit margins for myself
Yeah.
versus just taking that as a loss, if you understand what I'm saying.
And you're letting that location know when they ask for that higher commission, hey, yeah, that's fine.
Hopefully but when I say that, hopefully I want them to say, oh, well, we'll lower it a little bit because we don't want the prices to be too high. But if they don't care, that, I don't care. But most of the time that really works with something like hotels and different things like that, because you can have higher pricing because that's the standard for the industry. If you look at it, the hotel is always going to have higher prices than something like a barber shop and all that type of stuff. And that's mainly because you're paying a higher commission, so you have to increase your prices.
Yeah, so disincentivizing the location from wanting that commission or having at least a high commission because your prices going up is going to drive sales down. Obviously, the lower prices you're going to have higher sales, and no matter what, really.
Right. I think the highest somebody tried to charge me for commission was 50%.
Holy crap!
Yeah, yeah, more than once. It was a laundromat, right? 2 times it was, and I feel like the laundromats feel like you can give them more because of the type of other vending machines that they have in there, like the gumball
Yeah,
machines and those other different types of equipment. The game machines, they pay them a higher percentage because they can afford to do that because there's no inventory involved with that. Like, it's just you're just paying to be in there versus, well, it's inventory with gumballs, but this is a much higher profit margin. But with the vending machines, that doesn't make sense for me to give you a 50% commission. It's not worth my time, at that, especially when you're not like what you said, you're not doing anything to get it. Like, what am I paying you
exactly.
50% for?
I'm doing all the risk. I'm taking all the risk. I'm doing all the work. So that's something that I noticed with the vape and nicotine or nightlife products, vending machines. The bar owners are immediately going to ask you for commission. Like they are always going to ask you for commission. And I don't know if it's just a cultural thing, like the bar owning culture. That's what they're looking for, because they have all the other. They have the what is the jukebox thing? Touch
Yeah,
tunes. They pay a commission, and then they got, all the golden tea and all that other stuff. So I pitched it to a bar the other day, and the guy said something, oh yeah, these guys all pay us 50%. And I was like, I'm not paying you 50%, but I didn't say that. I just, I needed to get to the manager or to the owner first.
but it makes more sense with those though because it's just like an air machine. Like, I've heard of people paying 50% for the air machines that
Yeah.
go at like people put them in gas stations and
Yep.
different
Yep.
things because it's like there's no inventory. Like they can
Paid
do that.
like 250 for air the other day for like a minute worth of air.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's a lot
But
there.
with the nightlife type products, I'm okay giving that commission because the profit margin on that stuff is very high. I mean,
Hmm.
you're buying things at like $8 and you can sell them for like $30 if you're in the right location. Um, but yeah, you're definitely, so I think location wise, you're going to find different types of locations that are going to be more prone to asking for commissions. I don't know. We'll see. I know the bars definitely do.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you, in your opinion, Kashief, what are your best 3 locations?
This one is tricky, man. I've been trying to figure out in general. I can give you my best three. My top three locations are all office buildings, right? But my worst location is also an office building. So it's, it can go up in the air. I feel like this in general, like if you're just looking at, locations in general, I think like the hotels, motels, I've never had one of those necessarily be a bad location, right? Some of them do obviously better than others, but those are typically good spots. Office buildings, that's going to be a hit and miss, but I feel like when it hits right, I think those are like out the park. I also like schools. The only thing about the schools is that, but they're seasonal. Factories are up there, and I know you only asked me for three, but factories are up there.
All right.
And then the last one I would just put in there as honorable mention is apartment buildings, right? And the only reason I've never had an apartment building do astronomical numbers, but they've always been studied for me. Like, so even during the whole COVID thing, those are my only locations that were still going well because the office buildings, shut down at that point. But those apartment buildings have always been studied like year round. Whereas though like schools and some of the other things, up and down, whereas the apartment buildings are, consistent.
I don't think I have a whole enough experience yet to really give a great opinion on what I think the best 3 location types would be, but I'll give you my opinion anyways. I think manufacturing plants are really good because of my own lived experience. Mine does very well. It's very steady. The people there are easy to deal with. They like the same stuff. I like that. And then I would say I would say like an office type situation, but like you said, I do think that's one thing that I feel like I've kind of learned from reading through a lot of these forums, like the Facebook groups, is that everyone has an opinion on, like they'll post like, "Hey, I got this location. What do you think?" And then you'll have like 5 people be like, "Oh, those are the best." I crush at those, and then other people are like, "Run." They're the worst. Don't touch
It's
them.
it's crazy.
So I kind of think like, I don't know, is there really a best type? I'm sure there's probably a type out there that like it almost never doesn't do well, but I bet you there's manufacturing plants out there that don't do well, I guess. I don't know.
I would say one I always say stay away from is a tire shop. I
Tire
hate tire.
shops.
Yeah, I don't like them. I wouldn't do one.
I feel like tire shops, barber shops, tattoo parlors would be the three that I've just on my brief experience in this and what I've read from other people and listened to other people. Those are the three that are like stay away from those. And they're also the three that a lot of people that are brand new are like, I'm gonna get this barber shop, I'm gonna get this tattoo shop because they're kind of low hanging fruit. Like it's easier to walk in and the owners are right there. You can talk to them. So yeah,
I've only one barber shop where I was like, man, I want that location. Like, and I couldn't get it. I
right.
tried multiple times, but that barber shop would have, and actually it was a salon and a barber shop in one. One half of it was a salon, the other half was a barber shop.
Yeah.
It had super long hours. It was always busy. And then one of the people who worked in there ended up putting a combo machine in, so I just left it alone. But that was that one spot. I was like, man, I want that.
My I have a friend who our producer Charlie also knows him. He has a it is a cosmetology school. So not a barbershop, but they're gonna all work in barbershops. But he said it crushes. Like they gotta go there 3 times a week to fill this machine. It just crushes for them. It's a bunch of women learn how to cut hair. So I guess that would be a good one to look at too.
Wait, question. Can I can I
You
can I
can.
can I can I get the can I go back to those 2 questions that you guys asked about the commission and the 3 best locations? Can I just say it real
Absolutely.
quick?
Yeah, I want to hear what you have to say about that.
In terms of like commission, I don't pay any commission at any of my locations. Like I know the bar. When I went to go visit the bars where the vape machines were at, I know the commissions over there are crazy. In terms of like the air vending machines, I met a guy. He was paying like 75, 80, 95, 90% commissions just for like the air and vacuum vending machines in
Yeah,
Chicago. I thought
that's
that was
crazy.
super crazy. But I don't pay any commissions. I think people like when you frame your deals and your contracts. I like what you did in terms of like that you say, hey, you guys pay us $200. I think I got to try that for next time. But in terms of like best year locations, I think rehabilitation centers is going to be my top.
Okay.
I think offices, they could be like your best and your worst locations. So it just depends the type of office you're going to get. And I'm going to say, I would say churches, but not every church is a good location. But I guess it has to be like a multi-event church. Like it has to be like has like multiple things going on in the same, like in the,
Yeah, you've inspired me now because I'm gonna go pitch to my chair. I already I cleaned a bunch of their stuff for them, so I already know the people to talk to there. You know, something I wanted to touch on, just like what you were saying with the whole like you're gonna, we're asking them to pay us. I think going back to what Kashief said in the beginning, brain, how you present yourself or your business, and something that I learned early on in the power washing business is like you present yourself as a professional and as somebody that they want to work with. They want you to do the house, watch their house. They don't want the other guy because he looks like a bum. They want your vending machine in their shop or in their office because it's way better than what they want their employees to be happy to come to it. They want people to be excited about it. So if you present it that way and you kind of present yourself as that luxury service, it makes it easier to ask for stuff like that because it's just a perception. It's how you market yourself. It's all about how you force them to perceive you pretty much.
Right, Zig, and I think that's a very important point. If we're talking about people getting locations too, like I touched on earlier, I think before you just to drive it home, before you go for any location, I would say you should have all your stuff together. Like not all your stuff, but you should know where you're getting your machines from. You should know where you're getting your products from. You should know what type of products you got access to. You should be able to present yourself in a professional manner because if you don't and then you can't do that, you're wasting a potential location. Like you're gonna reach out to somebody and you're not really fully prepared. That could have been a yes, but it's gonna be a no, but it's because they feel like you're not ready or you don't know what you're doing.
Somebody in one of the Facebook groups, she was actually asked a question like, I can't get anybody to take me seriously. As soon as I tell them I'm brand new, they stop talking to me. And how do I fix that? And I commented, I said, hey, when I started off power washing, nobody knew that I was brand new. When I went and did my first job, I had somewhat of a uniform. I had a shirt, I had stickers on my truck. I showed up and I looked like I was a professional company that been doing this forever. It was my very first job. That lady had no idea and she had no reason to even ask me. if I was brand new because I didn't give her that perception. So same thing goes for vending as with any business. You can brand yourself and put yourself out there as that guy or that girl that they want, you're gonna win. And you definitely have to have that stuff in a row. And I
Right.
think that's somewhat easy to do. People probably get overwhelmed with that. All it is coming up with the name of your business. Go on Fiverr.com and get a logo made up and get a couple business cards made up and a pamphlet so that you look somewhat professional and you look like an established business. Form the LLC. That's super easy to do too. Watch a YouTube video, or you can pay somebody to do that for you. But yeah, have those small things lined up already. So when you pitch these locations, you're not wasting your time. I mean,
And I
I feel
also
like no matter what, you're wasting your time if you don't have those things lined up. You're gonna have very low percentage of luck getting a location without any of that stuff lined up.
So now I do agree with you on like the looking professional part. Like I know some people be like fake it till you make it. Like look the part, like look like you're the biggest and baddest vending machine company like in your state and in your city.
Yeah.
So in terms of people who are just getting started, right? I wouldn't lie and say, hey, this is my first location, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't just come out and and say that. But what I do lean on and what I leaned on a lot, especially earlier on, I felt like a lot of people feel like, hey, everybody already has a machine already, or you're competing against bigger companies, and these bigger companies are going to get these locations just because they're bigger. I think as a small operator, you have a huge advantage though that a lot of them don't realize that they have. The fact that you're small is an advantage because it gives you an opportunity to really hyper focus on these locations, and the bigger companies are not going to do that to an extent. Like if you get a certain bigger company, I ain't going to say no names, but certain bigger companies will have a reputation for having bad service, and the only reason they have bad service is because they have so many locations to the point where they can't really manage them that well. So they have the money and they have the resources to get all of these accounts, but they don't necessarily have the ability to take personal time to come visit them and talk to them and build a rapport and all that type of stuff. Even to come out in a timely manner to handle problems. Like whereas though if you're a small operator, you can do that all day, and that's your superpower for real. So when you're talking to these locations, like you really have to lean on that, not on commission or anything else. You lean on that part, and now I think that makes a big difference.
We took to my two best locations. We knocked two very large different companies out of those spaces, and same thing. They were unhappy with the services. They did not like the way they were being treated. They were, and I think the business model of those bigger companies kind of changes a little bit when you get to that level from what operators like us are. Like you just said, you explained it perfectly. This has been a fun episode. Thank you for joining us. This is our first episode, so bear with us as we learn the whole podcasting world here. We're new to this, so we hope you join us next week. We're going to try to put a podcast out every week. And if you are interested in any of the websites that we talked about in this episode, we will put the links to those in the show notes. And thank you for joining us. This episode was brought to you by Vend Guys.